Good evening. And thank you very much for staying back for the last session. I really appreciate that. Well, my name is Sajith. I lead commercial analytics for AB InBev. I know a lot of you may not know about AB InBev, but you must know about our brands, which are Budweiser, Corona, Hoegaarden. We are the biggest brewers in the world. We have a revenue of about $55 billion, and we started, I think, in the 1100s. So very old company in one of the oldest business in the world. And our hope and our objective as a company is to spread a lot of cheers in the future. So that's who we are. I don't have any slides, so that's something different. And I'll tell you the reason why I don't have any slides at the end. But I do have some papers, so I'm prepared. What I'm here to talk about is how AB InBev spends its media money and how we use data and analytics to do that. We have been a very traditional company. In fact, our CEO in 2012 said that, thank God we are not a technology-driven company. And things have dramatically changed from that. We had our first analytics employee only in the year 2016. So I'm giving you a little bit of history because it's important to understand where we are coming from. And the journey which I'm going to talk about is a very interesting journey where probably we did everything wrong we could to get where we are today. Today, I would say that we are probably industry leaders in terms of how we optimize our media, how we do our marketing and things like that. But it was not the same in the year 2016. So what really happened? So we spend close to $2 billion every year on media and sponsorship. To give you an example of what we do through media and sponsorship is that media is everything which we spend on TV, Facebook, Google, and things like that. We are one of the biggest spenders in Facebook. Sponsorship is a good example is what we did recently, the FIFA World Cup. We were the main sponsors for that. So we spent about $2 billion on all of these things. And we had no data and analytics to figure out how to spend this money till about 2016. So in 2016, we had a board mandate which said that let's figure out what is the ROI you're getting out of this media and sponsorship spend you're doing. Is there a way you measure it? Is there a way you do it? Is there any scientific reason, rhyme or reason behind it? And the answer to that was no. So then the board said, okay, let's get on with it. Let's build an analytics team who can do that. So there are 4 stages to our journey. So the first stage of our journey was what we call delusion. So what happened is that we got a lot of money from the board saying that go ahead, do this analytics. So we said, okay, great, we will do it. So we came to India because that's where all the analytics talent is. We created our first marketing analytics team. And we said that let's go solve the problem. The problem statement was very simple. How do we scientifically allocate our media and sponsorship money? And what's the ROI we are getting out of it? We decided to make the problem more complicated and we said, why should we stop at media and analytics? Let's solve for commercial. Let's look at sales, let's look at discounts, let's look at every commercial lever we have, and let's build a model which can solve all of that. And we did that. We created a CRA model, it's called commercial resource allocation. Then we overlaid pricing on that. It's a standard MMM model, multivariate regression. But we made the whole thing really complicated. And then we were very proud of what we have done. And then we went and showed it to the business and things like that. And the result of this whole thing was complete disaster. Why? I mean, there are 4 or 5 reasons for that, why it was a complete disaster. First one, there was no org alignment done. So our company doesn't operate as a commercial company. Our company operates as, we have a chief sales officer, which does what she wants to do. We have a chief marketing officer, and she does what she needs to do. They have separate budgets. They do not operate as a commercial thing, and we are providing a solution which is commercial in nature and not what the problem actually required. Second biggest mistake we did is that we didn't align with any business process. So we didn't talk to any business people. The analytics team thought they're really smart and they can figure out everything themselves. So they didn't speak to anybody in the business. And third, the cardinal sin was we didn't look at what kind of data is actually available to execute a project like this globally. So we are a global company. We are in all the continents, over 200 countries and things like that. So first year was pretty much a disaster, but thankfully the company decided to invest, continue to invest in what we are doing, and said, okay, let's learn from it. So stage 2 was common sense. So here we obviously got the common sense. We said, okay, fine, let's understand what the business actually needs. So we decided to go focus on marketing, and within marketing we decided to focus on media. So we went more focused, and we also took a brilliant decision of talking to the business to ask them that, how do you do things? How does the actual media process works and things like that. We also did another smart thing is to understand what data is available, what frequency it is available and things like that. So that's year 2. So this is about 2019. We got some kind of success. We got we walked out of the year with people saying that, okay, there is some merit in what these guys are doing. We can have a look at it. We might take some of their recommendations which comes out of that and things like that. So what used to happen is that we used to do this once in a year. So once the year is over, we go back with this backward looking exercise, and we say that this is how you should spend your money next year so that you get the maximum return on investment. But again, we did get some momentum, but it's again not where we want to be. We wanted to get to the last mile and things like that, and that's where the third part, and I heard some of the gentlemen before speak about it, that we started focusing on adoption. So what can we do to make sure that business is actually using what we are building? And another thing which we did is that we decided that any changes in the product or the solution, it was not a product at that time, it was a solution. How do we make changes in that which is driven primarily by the business requirements and the business needs? So we are not going to make any changes in the solution because it's fancy or it's better to do. We'll make it so that it can drive adoption. So the business said that it's too late in the game. You guys come too late in the game, and it's only once in a year, whereas we do media planning every quarter and things like that. So we decided to do it quarterly. So we shortened the time period. We worked with the media agencies to get the data faster. We built data pipelines, and from there came the idea that we need to make it a product. We cannot keep sending PPTs, etc. to business. We need to basically make a product so that it can be faster and things like that. So we walked out of 2021 with a product where we could actually deliver the results within 1 hour of data being available. It was live. We could run the model any number of times we wanted. We started doing media planning on a quarterly basis based on these results and things like that. And we exited that year with about $50 million in impact, which was validated by the business and things like that. So adoption went up to almost 75% of all the recommendations which was coming out of the solution was taken up by the business and executed. ABI is a company of numbers. It's a company of value. Unless and until you show value, you cannot do anything. And the businesses also started paying for the solution. So that was another thing so we became basically a self-sustained team where the business was actually paying for our solutions and things like that. So that was the fourth stage, which gave us a lot of confidence. And then we entered the last stage. The last stage was about integrating things into the business process. So adoption is great, where people are actually adopting the solutions, adopting the recommendations. But still, if you really want to make analytics mainstream, you need to integrate that into the business process. It cannot be an afterthought. It needs to be something which is part of the business. So what we started doing was that, so we made some structural changes in the team. So we divided the team into 2 parts. We had the product team, which worked in the agile way, guild structure and things like that. And what we did is we added a layer of consulting on top of that. So we hired consultants, we hired people from McKinsey, we hired people from media agencies, we hired people from different companies to actually be that consulting layer on top of this product. So this consulting layer, and we also then, we have multiple locations where this consulting layer exists. We have people in Brazil, in Americas, people in India, people in Mexico, and some of these other countries. So these are the people who are very close to the business. They understand analytics, they understand the results which is coming out of it, but they are sitting with the business to drive these into their business processes. So today, I'm very, very happy to say that no media decision is taken in ABI without the input coming from the tool which we have, or the input coming from analytics. So it's become part of the process now. So first they look at, okay, what does the tool say? How should I invest? Then there are some strategic overrides which are taken. They also know what's the cost of taking these strategic overrides. So that is the last stage. We are there today. And in the last 4 or 5 years, we have been only focused on media. And now the whole journey has pretty much come full circle. So last year in 2022, we exited with about $77 million in impact, which is a lot for a company of our size. And now the focus for next year is to go back to where we started, where to start looking at the commercial resource allocation. Why? Because the organization is ready today. So today we have a chief commercial officer. So we have somebody who leads both sales and marketing, and that structure is there in all the zones and in global also. So now we are ready for that solution. Now we are technically ready for the solution. The organization is ready for that solution. So now maybe, if I come back here next year, I'll talk to you about what we did in this whole commercial resource allocation. So this whole journey has been quite fascinating, and it's been an example for a lot of things which we have done in other areas. Is that these are all common sense, right? Everybody knows you must talk to the business, you must understand the data, you must have a consulting layer on top of what you're doing, because analytics speaks a very different language, business speaks a very different language. We need to bridge that. I mean, we have heard about analytic translators and things like that, but we haven't really seen that in practice. This is one team where we actually put that in practice, and we had a strategy for adoption. Adoption was not an afterthought. We put in a strategy for that. So based on all of these things, I believe we are in great place, and I wanted to share with all of you what we have done. It's been a huge success. This particular use case has been a huge success for us. And we are replicating what we have done here in a lot of other areas. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.